So it all starts way back in 2019. I had just finished up directing and releasing a short horror film for Hooked, a text story-based app that now had short films like romance films and horror films. Mine was one of the first horror films to drop on the app. And I was feeling pretty good. I had just gotten paid to direct a short horror film for a company. I'd been trusted to direct. I had a budget, I worked with people, I had a legit location and a cast and crew and stuff. I was feeling pretty pumped, and I was really eager to start working and collaborating with some more people. I loved working with so many people that had the similar aspiration to me of succeeding in the film industry in different ways. So the short horror film I directed for Hooked, Behind the Curtain, was one of the first horror films on the app. There had been one that dropped right before mine, and I saw that it was based off of a story written by a guy named Cade Scott. And I had seen that name before. When I was approached to direct for Hooked, they gave me a couple options of different stories I might be interested in directing. And on a lot of them, the name behind the script was Cade Scott. And so after I dropped my short film, Cade followed me on Instagram and began engaging with some of my posts, replying and on different things I would post or different stories. And I recognized his name instantly. I was like, oh, this is the guy that writes for Hooked. So I followed him back. And after a while, we got to talking, and it was a good fit. It was a good relationship. We got along real well. He wants to write, I want to direct. It was a win-win-win.
Originally, my dream was to write novels, right? And so I had started writing for Hooked on the side and had really enjoyed it. And then I'd just seen 2 of my stories released as movies. And I really enjoyed that collaborative process. I was starting to doubt my aspirations in the novel writing literary realm because I was like, it's just, 1, I don't think my strengths are there, and 2, I was missing that collaboration.
So after a while, we decided, hey, let's collaborate on something, let's work on something together. So I gave him a writing prompt that had my resources in mind, something I could shoot pretty easily. And the prompt was horror, 2 people in a kitchen, and dialogue driven. So the reason for the prompt, it's horror because that's kind of my thing. That's what I film. 2 people in a kitchen. I have access to a pretty cool large kitchen that I can film in. And dialogue driven, pretty much all of my short films up until that point had been dialogue free. Maybe a couple words here and there.
Hello? Hello?
But no people really interacting, talking to each other. And I really wanted to challenge myself with directing actors, directing dialogue, something I hadn't done before in the past.
And I was like, okay, I'll see what I can do.
Restrictions, man.
Right, restrictions, which I'm finding that with my own writing process, that's the best thing that you could do, or a good thing that you can do, especially if you don't know where to start or if you're stuck. If you put these kind of parameters around it, I mean, your creativity just takes off.
Every time I tried to come up with a dialogue-driven script, my mind was blank. And Cade, that was really his strength because most of the Hooked stories are pure dialogue. The way Hooked worked at that time was it was mostly just like you are reading somebody's text message conversation, so it's all dialogue. So Cade had a lot of experience writing dialogue-driven stuff. At the time, I figured this would just be a quick thing that I shoot with a couple friends on some afternoon, and it'd be over with. Within a week or 2, Cade sent over a draft to me of the dialogue-driven horror script. I think that's what it was titled at the time, is just like dialogue piece. He sent it over to me, I read it over a couple times, and I said, sweet, looks good to me. I made a couple small notes. Cade made some changes, and I was ready to go. I was like, let's shoot this, man. Let's do it. But my idea of the scope of the film had grown. I wanted this to be bigger. I wanted to work with people again. I wanted a crew and a cast again. And so to make that happen, I thought, I need a producer. I had a producer on Behind the Curtain. I need that again because a producer handles all the things I don't like, which is scheduling and logistics and spreadsheets and stuff. It's not my greatest strength. So I reached out to a friend of mine who I knew was an experienced producer, and I sent her the script and I was like, hey, do you know anybody that might be interested in a no-budget short horror film? I don't know, maybe there's someone out there that you know that's interested in this. And so she's like, hey, yeah, let me look around, let me ask some people, let me read the script first. She read the script, she called me up and she gave me some feedback. And in the nicest way possible, she tore the script to pieces. She ripped it a new one. And it was probably the best thing that could have happened for this short film.
Well, I mean, looking back at that first draft, a lot had changed. I mean, I think there were 2 ghosts in that first draft. There was like an older ghost, like a child ghost. There was no Olivia.
His name was Brody, and there was no like sleeping thing.
It was completely different because your friend it like had some great constructive criticism. I want to say tore it apart for good.
Thank goodness she did.
Thank goodness. No, that was the best thing that could happen to us because it totally changed direction and went where it needed to go. When I was putting it together, I thought, you know what? I need to take my literary background and make the dialogue really stylized and end with this super long, boring monologue because that's what people want, that just describes the ghost in this horrifying way. And that's going to be really interesting and different. And like, this is how you write great horror. And it was the complete opposite of what I needed to do or what we needed to do. And so if you didn't do that, oh gosh, I don't even know where the film would be to this day.
The script was fine for quick dialogue practice between 2 people, shoot it real quick and think nothing of it. But if I really wanted to sink some time and some money into this short film and make something cool, it definitely needed an overhaul. She had some advice for some moments, some parts of the concept, and Cade and I took it back to the drawing board. Pretty much everything about the short film changed except for the original writing prompt, which was horror, 2 people in a kitchen, and dialogue driven. So at this point, I hopped into the writer's chair alongside Cade to co-write the short film. And pretty much every week we were passing drafts back and forth, making calls, discussing things, sending emails, and it was a really good experience.
Her notes took me out of the mindset of, you gotta be literary, you gotta stylize the dialogue. And her notes were, each line has to push the story forward. The dialogue has to be, if it's not expressing a character's want or desire, or again, pushing the story forward, then it shouldn't be there. And then all these notes, I'm like, yeah, this is the exact same notes I get from Hooked when they send back edits. Maybe I should just write it like a Hooked story. Maybe all this Hooked training actually trained me well to write an effective horror film.
5 or 6 drafts later, and we were approaching the end of February 2020. And the script was finally done. It was perfect. It was ready to go. Cade felt good about it. I felt confident in it. And at this point, I had finally decided that I would just produce the short film and dive headfirst into my greatest weaknesses, scheduling and logistics. So after some working and some planning, I finally made the first step towards shooting the short film. On March 10th, 2020, I reached out to my friend Paul to see if he'd be available to DP my short film. And he said yes. And then a few days later, COVID hit, the pandemic hit, it came down hard. In California, it was crazy. Everything shut down, film production shut down, and it was just not a good time to be, putting together a cast and crew. So all my planning and all my thought about Every Night I See Them got halted. And honestly, I kind of forgot about the film for a while. Cade and I went on to work on some other writing projects, wrote a pilot, did some pitch decks, and Every Night I See Them was completely on the back burner. I didn't think about it for months. That was until about July. For some reason, I revisited the script, I read it over, I got excited about it again, and I told Cade, hey, let's be proactive. I want to be ready to shoot this when the opportunity eventually presents itself. So for the 3rd time, we dug back into this script, this 5-page script, and started making changes again until it eventually got to draft 17 drafts of this 5-page script.
You reach a law of diminishing returns where we were making huge steps in these drafts, and then at the end it was getting small tweaks, and we were even like changing words and then changing them back, and then changing them again. And at that point, it's like, okay, we could sit here and tweak this all day, but you're right. Like the time to get it out, time to get it released and learn and move on.
So finally in August of 2020, I said, hey, I'm gonna start planning to shoot this. Even though it's the middle of the pandemic, it can be done. let's make it happen. I reached back out to Paul and said, hey man, you still down to shoot this short? And he said, let's go. And so that marks the beginning, officially, of pre-production of Every Night I See Them, which I'm gonna go over in a separate video because that's a whole story on its own. So in the process of making this video, I actually went back and checked out the exact dates of when Cade and I began discussing this short film over email and when we actually shot the film. And it was pretty much a year, give or take a few days, which is pretty crazy. 1 full year to just make this 5-page script. And this script went through so many different iterations, so many changes, so many good ideas, bad ideas, failures, successes. But I'm so glad that we were able to persevere, push through, make it better, and get this thing to production. So if you want to find out more about this short film and what went into making it, I am going to be making some more videos about pre-production, the on-set experience, and post-production. But in the meantime, if you want to check out this short script for this short film, there's a link down in the description where you can check it out. You can read it, you can see what's different about the script from the final product, see what a short film script looks like. If not, that's fine. Thanks for making it this far. Thanks for watching along. If you want to support me and the channel, leave a like, subscribe, watch another video on my channel because YouTube likes that. And now my arm is getting real tired, so I'm gonna go. Thanks.